Yes, another episode Motswako Mantaga. Gompieno ke le soletse tsala ya ka. Ha ke ke mmitsa tsala mare he's a brother. And o irile do tse ditona mo industry o produce di hits tse dintsi re mo phone for the advice re bua le ena re mo tlhoka and o tsa di call tsa rona. Ladies and gents, today welcome Thasman Thaso Tsotetsi.
Yes sir.
Yes. Rethabiso. I can you get your flowers with generally.
One of those.
It's one of those.
It's one of those.
Wow.
You just have to accept them for what they are, right? Sometimes we do what we love, not necessarily for the flowers. If they do come, you accept them. If they don't,
do you think it was a wise choice to leave the mic? Because
to a certain extent, yes. To a larger extent, no.
Let's go with the no first.
No, because I also have a lot to say. And being behind the mic would allow me the space to have my weight out there, you know?
Yeah.
That's the no part of it. The yes part of it is I've explored the music industry space to an extent that through music, I speak volume. And I don't just make music for artists to rap on, but I also make music for film so that I can capture people's emotions. I make music for radio so that I can excite people in a certain way. So whichever way we look at it, both ways work best for
Through music we speak volume. Buzz.
Yes, sir.
Yo, now Thasman. Generally, I know where people come from.
Yes.
Marona, Cape Town, Maftown, Pitori. What's going on?
Jabba once said he's a global torter. I'm not a global torter, but I'm a global citizen, if I may put it that way. Okay. I would easily say I've lived within the SADC. I am a South African from Pitori. Lived in Mafikeng. Stayed in Cape Town for quite some time, and now I'm a Joburger. So musically, it started a long time ago, and it started from the Pretoria days to Mafikeng when the love captured me full on.
What sent you to Mafikeng?
School and family. I've got family in Mafikeng, and at the same time, school was one of the major focus of my parents. Pitori had me going left, right, and center.
Or what was going on?
Nah, man. Look, Pretoria allowed a lot of space for me to be notorious.
Shoof.
You know, when you end up now being part of these cliques of gangs, this clique of whatever, being notorious, not attending school as you should, and so on and so forth. So my folks decided, let's move him out of the environment he's already used to. And that way he will possibly realign himself. And it worked. You know, I mean, for them to even take me to Zimbabwe. Yes, I went to Zim. I studied in Zim. I stayed in Pumula in Bulawayo.
I know.
So that's how far my folks wanted to realign whom I am. And
before you even get to Zim, how
I was staying with my aunt.
Okay.
My aunt was working ko Unibo, and she was Mafikeng for the longest time ever. So Kikeni Mafikeng Kidulale, my aunt. I went to CN Lekalake middle school, and then from there I went to Mapato High, and the rest is history.
It's not yet. Between Pitori and Mafikeng, Uboluza's Pitori guy. I know was but how Tanya was so 12 goes also or Pitori.
Josie Pitori as a polelo lebala.
Arabella Libra.
Yeah, Reganarabella on your correct. Because Pitori lingual and Namara Abona, Eleta Mamomadi. I think I'll go about them, brother.
No wonder when we were doing tours, Bojack Buddha and all these places,
yes,
you were the link.
I had to be the link because for the mere fact that I know that space better and I can relate with the people ba Botswana. It was best for me hore ke pushe motswako ko kenye within the spaces tse leng hore le nna I am connected to.
That's why Morafe was huge.
They had to
It was like a mini map town.
Yes.
And so Zim,
Yes.
was it high school or college?
It was high school. So Zim and SA at the time were working within a similar kind of curriculum whereby after standard 5 you go into high school, then you go into form 1 and so on and so forth. So there was no middle school like in the Northwest. Right?
Yes.
So from there it was after high school after primary you go into high school. So I went to high school there, whereas in the Northwest it was middle school.
In the Northwest or Buputazwana?
In Buputazwana. Well, it was Buputazwana.
Yeah. You know, time and space, you must know.
Okay. In Buputazwana, it was middle school, whereas in South Africa, it was high school.
Sharp.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mafikeng, Mabato High, you find yourself in the same class, Tuks.
Yes, sir.
At what point did you realize this man can spit?
To be honest with you, because we used to have what we called a V show, variety show,
sure.
Right? Everybody comes, showcase your talent and so on and so forth. Tuks is there showcasing his talent. I'm thinking, okay, cool, there's something there. But he came to me afterwards. He's like, hey man, so what do you think of my raps? And I was like, were those raps really? Were you rapping or were you doing raga? Because at the time I didn't understand exactly what Tuks' style was, you know? Then he ended up coming to me again saying, my man, since you make beats, can you please buy me beats? By the way. So, he never came back. $200 I think. So fine. At a later stage, now having gone to Cape Town, having come back.
Now go Cape Town, where is that?
I was a music producer in Cape Town.
Nice. Okay.
Honale, a friend of mine, Tepo Piti, he was a rapper. Hale. There's a guy of mine as well, Simon Sibanda. We started kind of was the record company. I will remember it now. We started the record company together, Kala, but we were working at Mother Mix, myself and Simon, and we were producing Tepo Piti's album with Stacy and so on and so forth. So from there, that's where one started learning how to do imaging for radio. So I started working with radio stations there, creating their imaging, doing their theme songs of the stations and so on and so forth. I started working with advertising agencies. So I learned a lot when I was in Cape Town, even though I was a broke somebody. You know, when you're working for record companies that will shortcut you and they will make sure that you remain where you are. When you're making a 45,000 Rand something project, you get in less than 10% of that.
You're on a salary?
Yeah. So they kept you there so that you do not easily grow beyond them, you know. So I was kept in Cape Town, so I decided with however much I'm kept, let me utilize the minimum money I have to buy my own studio equipment. And then from buying my own studio equipment, that's when I quit Cape Town. I left 4 years, 3 years, 4 years later, went back to Mafikeng. My aunt gave me the flat, said, hey, since you want to come back, Mafikeng, here's a flat. You can do whatever.
Cape Town to Maptown sounds crazy though.
Yeah. It was a crazy move, but Cape Town taught me a lot.
It's like me when I left Joburg for Zirast. But was Zirast about the insurance, but it was a crazy move.
Yes.
Gone. Cape Town?
Cape Town taught me a lot. My man, I was a broke somebody in Cape Town. Like you used to honor, I used to honor $20. By having $20, you know, you can buy a loaf of bread, but for it not to rot, you have to toast it. That's why today I don't even eat toast. I can't eat toast. I can't drink tea because I used to use the tea bag until it doesn't turn color anymore. And then it's then that I can go to the next one. I can't eat sugar because I used to steal sugar from the nearest restaurants and so on and so forth, just for survival. You see, so
Sure.
it taught me how to be humble. It taught me how to look at life slightly different to, I want this, I can get this at any given point in time. No, work towards growing and getting there as time goes, not just everything is just going to happen like this for you. So sometimes, but ho checha so baleha. You can retreat slightly. Papa, if you have to. You know, so Cape Town taught me that I need to go back home. And worst of all, I worked with so many different artists in Cape Town to an extent that I found nothing that I was connecting with. To an extent that I had to go home to the music that I could connect with. And that's why we rekindled our working relationships with Morafe, rekindled our working relationship with Jabba. And then when I had the studio in Mafikeng, that's when Tuks now came back again. When I got to listen to him again, that's when I was like, wow, hey, my man, what have you been doing? You know what I mean? So rekindling that allowed us to grow Motswako to becoming something other than what it was then.
Between Tuks and Morafe, who came first in terms of recording?
I've been working with Morafe for the longest time. I think from 96, if I'm not mistaken. So from 96, 97, I started working with Morafe when through the Mabana's rap competitions that were happening, you know, we would compete together and so on and so forth. And we decided, hey, let's just work, you know? And then we started working then. So Tuks, I started working with Tuks after I found him, go Impact Soundzu, go Mafikeng, when I was already in Joburg.
Who was there in the studio, Wanolu?
Jazz.
Yeah,
It was Jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz was there at the studio. Jazz, Roo, Majuli,
What?
all of them. Yes.
So Majuli's your guy?
Yes, Majuli have been Flavor G Thugs and Ele the late Tapelo.
Wow.
They've been rapping from way back. They've been rapping Lebo Morafe, same competitions and stuff.
This is crazy.
They were the boom thugs of the time.
So, but around 96, between 96 and 94, I think the biggest thing on my
96 and 94. Are you going backwards?
Yes.
Where? Okay.
Well, 94 and 96. In fact, 90 and 96.
Okay.
Top of the Bob Pops was the thing.
Yes.
How did you find yourself removing yourself from that thing? Because
Top of the Bob Pops was more miming than anything.
I know.
They didn't showcase anybody's talent.
Exactly. But it's the biggest thing. Everybody who go convention center, is the biggest. Nobody cared about how to record it, whatever.
Yes, nobody cared about talent. Nobody cared about anything as long as you can mime that thing as good as possible. So I think Top of the Bob Pops was more of an actor and a performer's something instead of a rapper or an author or a talented somebody. It was more for your actor, your dancer, and that's about that. So we used to go to it because it was the in thing. Up until now, we had to sit down with Mabana and say, we want to showcase our talent. Give us the platform. And Mabana did exactly that. They gave us the stage, they gave us the platform. Up until Kagiso, Pogiso.
Yeah.
The late as well.
Yeah.
Pogiso ended up saying, for the competition, for you to enter the competition, you must come with your original everything. Now, that's when I started becoming. And then he's like, there's a composer here, there's a producer here. Find him, Tabi, so get up. And I got up there. And then he was like, go to that man, let that man compose your beats and everything else. For this competition, everything original. And that's how we started growing the artistry industry in the Northwest.
The respect I have for Pogiso now.
Yeah. Pogiso was one of the greatest human beings to actually elevate arts in the Northwest.
Sure. Where Mafikeng at this stage was finally Morafe.
Yes, sir.
Where do you meet Jabba?
I met Jabba through Tulam.
Okay.
Actually, Tulamo, one of my best guys from high school. Come Mabatu High, Tulam. Lunchtime, we together. Sometimes we in the music room. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the better chords that I could learn, that I learned how to play, actually, how to, excuse the pun, finger the keys and stuff.
Yes.
So, you know, when you're teaching yourself how to do something, you end up learning how to play it wrong. That's
Yes.
why it's very difficult for me to teach my kids how to play keys. Why? Because I never had formal training. But Tolamo showed me how to finger the chords proper and so on and so forth, because we used to remain in the music room time and again, only to find Tolamo and Jabba are buddies. So our school holidays were not the same. Jabba would be on school holidays. We would still be going to school up until lunchtime or after school. He came through with Jabba. That's how my candle with Jabba started, through Zola.
And at this stage, who you working with? How many Jabba?
No, Hekimita Jabba, I'm working with Udi Ben Lulu. So, no, I was still in high school. I met Jabba while I met Jabba.
You guys go way back.
We go way back. I met Jabba 96.
So I thought that Hebanna.
No, man. My man, okay. I meet Jabba then, and then after that, I leave high school, go to college. I was in Pretoria West College doing electronics and stuff, right? Ended up quitting college. From quitting college, that's when I went to Cape Town.
I was a dropout.
Yeah. I'm a college dropout.
Quitting, you sound like you were hired.
Yeah. Okay. So I dropped out of college, went to Cape Town, did everything I did in Cape Town, bought studio equipment, myself and Jazz, actually, because Jazz went to Cape Town as well. He was working there. Time and again, we used to chill together, and we decided, let's put our heads together, buy equipment, go to Mafikeng and start a record company. And we did exactly that. So when we started, this was in 2001, when we started at the flat with the equipment and so on and so forth. Having that, that's when Jabba also came back. No, man. Tasso is back, and Shapile Studio, When the Horn Blows. We did When the Horn Blows back then, with Mojo and everything else, before Mojo split away from Morafe. So we started working right there, myself, Majuli, Jazz. It was a lot of us, but then Morafe started recording, Jabba started recording. So when I came to Jozi to register an album that I had completed, ya Metswako, I already had a number of tracks.
You produced Metswako?
Yes.
In this Tebza?
Tebza was signed by me. Yes, they were signed by Impact Sounds. I'm the first person to.
Why don't I want to China Tasso? Because
I could sign you, and I could have signed you, and you know that. The only problem was that I didn't want to create conflict amongst us. You were working closely with Jabba at the time, and I thought to myself, if anything, you would possibly be under Baby Fat and or Leko,
yes.
One of the two. And I thought to myself, me poaching you would definitely create animosity between myself and Jabba. And that's why it didn't happen. Same applies with Mojo, and you know it. So we can key it there.
I think we should have like a whiskey, because this conversation is it must be for me.
It can be. Look, some of the things I think, Lemonka, as much as it's for you, sometimes we just have to be as genuine to each other as possible.
That's true.
Meaning that the genuinity of whom I am to you can be seen by the world, and I will continuously be me. I don't change. When the temperature is like this, I turn yellow. When the temperature is like this, I'm brown and I'm something else. I will consistently be me.
And I agree with you, because you always pick up my calls. And I know the type of work you are on a daily. And here you are sitting here,
yes, sir,
next to me, which is, shocking. But you are right. You've been the same man since the first time I saw you.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to that. Then you finished Morafe's album?
Finished Morafe's album. But before I finished Morafe's album, I'm already in Joburg.
Wait, so you left Maftown or Jozi?
Yeah, I left Maftown end of 2001. Came to Jozi. Ever since I came to Joburg, I'm a Joburger. So I came, I registered. We were going to Samro to register Metswako, the album. No? After that, I had a sit down with Lance Ter. And ever since I had a sit down with Lance Ter, that was that. When I got to Get It Rough, I had my own album, a rap album. I had Makajusi's album. It was not completed. I had Morafe's album, not completed. I had Jason Brown's album, not completed. I had Flavor G Thuks' album, not completed. But when Lance listened to the vast material that I had, he was like, "Nah, man, sit down here." And ever since I sat down there, and considering the fact that I was supposed to meet up with Vusi soon after Lance, Lance made it a point my Vusi meeting doesn't happen. And ever since then, I started working with Ghetto Rough. Starting to work with Ghetto Rough.
That was the Zola
That was the Zola era. But before the Zola era started, Bravo's album needed to be done.
So Bravo was signed under you or
Ghetto Rough.
Okay.
Bravo was signed by Ghetto Rough. I started on Bravo's album. So while I was working on Bravo's album, Zola came into the studio. He heard some of my beats. He's like, "Hey, my man, we must start doing something." Huh? We rocked one song first. And when we rocked that song, I was soon to work with Gazlam to do the soundtrack for Gazlam and the scoring for Gazlam. So I had found Maduba to say, okay, cool, we're going to work with Maduba on the theme song and 1, 2, 3. And then I did Manimbona, Prisnim Jeleng, Sam Kumbula Namad with Maduba. When Zola came in the studio and had that song, he went back wild. And that's how we started working on the album.
So the album Yaha Zola that you worked on, which one? The one after Ndlembe?
No, after Ndlembe.
Bambata.
So I did Bambata and the one after Bambata, okay. Ubuntu. Yeah, Bambata and Ubuntu.
So now, for me, when I really paid attention to the works, is when I was watching Zola 7.
Yes.
And there was a song Cry.
Don't Cry.
One of my favorite Zola tracks. And,
yes, sir.
But people, I don't know why they don't feel the way I feel about it. Maybe because I was following the process of
how it was done.
Episode.
And so on. Yes.
Yes. And man, I'm like, who's this guy? Because Tazo Bargeman, Zola was talking about you. My producer, climb up town, no, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, sir.
The thing that came out of that song was amazing.
It was amazing. And for the mere fact that it was captured for TV, well, TV has a lot of different cuts and, you know, we went through that thing to an extent that the lady, through direction and through certain things, she ended up crying there on some, I don't think I can do this. And that's how the Don't Cry name of the song came about.
You lie. Imagine the behind the scenes of that episode.
The behind the scenes of that episode is amazing. It's amazing. And we did that song now because Zola 7 was also happening. I had to retune how Zola is audible to the audience out there. Why? Because now he's no longer Papa Action. Go, Kanaking, the TV program.
Go.
Izo. He's no longer Papa Action. Now he's a saint on Zola 7 who's assisting people and helping people. So his music has to speak to that. And that's why I had to take the direction that I took with his album to say, we are no longer going the Mrembe route. Now we are going there. Let's be with people and let's deal with people's emotions, because music is a healer. I look at music as something that cures a lot of people. You know what I mean? So how you direct your music heals or destroys the people out there. And we had to create a healing kind of process of people listening and looking at Zola 7. And that's why most of his album, then Bambata, was being played on Zola 7.
So him singing, was it your idea or?
It has to be transformation. There has to be a little bit of transformation in whom he was as an artist as well. So I would easily say I went into his space to allow him to grow to another level of his capabilities as an artist.
So, yes, you're a composer.
Yes.
But really, you're a producer.
Yes.
Because you direct this thing to go wherever you want it to go.
Yes, sir.
One of the best albums I've heard, Impact Sounds, are not out. And I knew, hey man, and I knew those guys before they blew up or before now. And it can show there was a tussle here.
Yes.
What's that process like? I mean, Tuks are almost ready to go.
Not quite.
Not quite.
No, not quite. So no one can easily say they are a finished project or product. There's no product. I'm not even a complete finished product myself. You know, working with Vincent Bones. When I was watching that boy on Idols, I idolized him. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, this boy, effortlessly so how he sings and everything. When I had to work with him, I was intimidated by him. What does that say? I'm not a finished product myself. You see, so there are other artists that also intimidate me to an extent that I have to pull my socks and become something other than. I need to switch slightly. And when you look at Vincent Bones within the gospel aspect of things, within the R&B aspect of things, I'm predominantly vast in a whole lot of different music genres. But at the same time, having to work with him vocally as that kind of talent, I also have to be on par with what he's capable of doing.
You know,
so Tuks didn't come as a complete finished product. He also, I heard what he's capable of, and I thought to myself, come through. Let's see what we can do. And with saying what we can, there's a line where Tuks are, tasware line ele cheesy. Suga, wa peta. And I allowed him to end up saying that because I had to take out that line on some, this is some cheesy shit.
There's a line that actually he says, "Tasolatela gun short, gape,
chiningan, maybe get la rekisa, ya go tsena ke fisa, gompieno go ne batlang ke itse gore ke ma, se nganga se, jo, politiki go thoko re je tlhako bogolo re tsebana le tsholo, hey.
That for me, that's direction.
Yes, Papa.
For me, that's direct. For me, he could have never thought about that.
No. He actually thought about that. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. Tuks is a flippin' creative artist, right? But then now, we are in Jozi. I've created one of the best-selling albums ever. Zola's Bambata sold 120-something thousand within the first month.
Back then, was it platinum or?
It was double already.
Double platinum.
Double platinum already within the first month. By the time we filled up a baseline here, he was already beyond 200,000 of sales, right? So now Tuks is also thinking to himself, man, if Mojozi is so maybe Mojozi is so twantobe kuluva for and pope. And he came up with all of those things. Tasolatela sound effect ya can show pa. And also are maybe get la rekis. Ke go tsena ke fisa. Go ke no bana batlang kitse gore ke ma. You know, that's his creativity, Shem. I'm not gonna take that away from him. But in all of those creativity spaces, some of the choruses, I would be the one who's coming up with choruses, and then he would add on top of those choruses. Some of the songs, I'm the one who decides, let me sample this and hear what he's gonna come up with.
No, he's a creative genius.
He is. He's amazing, Shem. I'm not gonna lie.
When I realized that he could paint. You know, our kids when they try to paint, but when Tuks paints a shoe,
you see to the detail.
Yeah,
and that's how detailed he is when it comes to his music. I think. At some point where I think Tuks lost it or was starting to lose it was when he started losing the focus of details when it comes to his finished product, the mixing and the mastering aspect of things. When he started losing track of such, then I thought, you are starting to lose the detailed Tuks that I always know. Come back. Relook at everything for what it is.
So you are the problem, because there was a point where I was sitting with Tuks and he's like, yo man, na ke batla go mixela master mo Mzansi utlule utla sound ya go UK sound ya gore that's after that meeting.
Look at my question is ke go lobela or ke go re if I have to tell somebody the truth, let them take me, otherwise I don't care. But I would have told you the truth, and the truth would be something that would save you in a long run. Whether Tuks is still working with me or not working with me, whomever he's working with, I would want him to be the great somebody that we started working together, and I would want him to continuously be as great. But if he's lacking somewhere, I have to tell him straight.
Now,
Straight talk doesn't break any friendship.
the question is, in the same scenario, as Thasman,
Yes, sir.
who tells you?
Who tells me?
Yeah.
Let's not forget that we are African, my man. Being African for me says you are connected to what is, and what is what you are. You. There's a certain portion of whom you are that vibrates with you with that chair. You vibrate with almost anything around you a certain way. If only you give yourself time to listen to what is, then you will understand what is.
Oh. Aye.
So most of us are more focused on entertaining instead of listening to give back that the messages that we are given. Setswana sa re ha ke re ke isa marapo go beng ke boma ke isa marapo go beng ba ntsa ba mpontsha ka mosho, and then I say I have deja vu, but they show me certain things. They make me wake up at night and make certain songs. So do I say I am the creative genius, or do I say me and those that carry me are creative geniuses? Are they not utilizing me as a relevant vessel for me to take out the message that is necessary for our people to grow?
Did you study music, Tasso, or
I didn't study music. Ke feel like about hobby. You see, anything and everything that I would say I know musically, I had to go through journeys and journeys, bump walls and do so on and so forth. I could easily say I'm one of the best mixing producers, mixing engineers in the country. How did I learn that? I had to learn from this one, learn from that one, learn from inking. But at the end of the day, for my ear to be sharpened, I had to learn how to listen. And now that I got to know how to listen, I started hearing things that are beyond just the ear.
So, people who've made it.
Yes.
And you didn't do that as a person who've made it.
Yes.
They always shy away from the struggles initially in the game. Ukremoto for 8 years trying to make this thing happen, and it doesn't happen. By the time it happens, they make it sound so easy.
Yes.
And when in your first thing, the first thing you said was, "How no look Cape Town?
So flame.
How's this? How's that?" Why do you think in the music space or in the entertainment space we shy away from saying, "Hey, this thing is not easy"?
Look, a lot of people glamorize success more than the struggles behind the success, right? I normally say to people, you can go anywhere in a dam and look at a duck. By the time you look at it, it's here. It's there. And when you look at it, nothing is happening. It's normal. But underneath there, it's peddling like nobody's business, right? So the minute you dramatize the fact that you moved from this place, now you are there and you are only seeing that place there, you are not allowing the people who are following you and those that want to come into the same game a better opportunity for them to prepare themselves for this game. And that's why people end up committing suicide. They have committed so much to this whole thing. The struggles are leading them to mental health, mental issues. Everybody has made it so simple, but by the time I have to do it, it's tougher. Then it's not for me, then inking, but this person is passionate about that thing. And it's a calling to them, but it becomes so hard for them to an extent that they give in. And once they give in, and then they end up committing suicide. Whereas we have to be honest and say, hey, and if you want to do this thing, make sure you are properly aligned with what is. And don't think anything and everything that you touch now is going to pop now. It may take forever. But however much it's taking, it's preparing you for almost anything and everything. And once you have gone through all of these steps, you know why? For the mere fact that I've built myself step by step until I got there. I know how to rebuild myself. But if you haven't gone through those steps, and then committing suicide, mental issues, going to drugs, going what that?
Sure. Let's go to the hits that you made.
Yes, sir.
and the process, what was happening there. I mean, with Tuks, it's a tougher one because you made 20 songs back to back.
Yeah, with Tuks, by the time, okay, let's look at it in this way. I worked with Tuks a lot. And for the mere fact that he was just as creative, it allowed me to continuously be just as creative. By the time Mafuko Ame dropped, we already had Boma 50, 60 songs. We had to choose from 50, 60 songs, and that's why that album ended up having 20 songs. Some of the songs we had to cut even the last verses so that we sit with 20 songs. We were so focused on that album to an extent that it had to tell a story from track 1 to the last track. The minute you press play, you even forget that you are in the next track. You are next track. There's no gaps even in between. You know, there are interludes there and there. And that's because of the creative genius he is, right? So, and Tuks was staying with me. He stayed with me. I had a studio at the flat, and I was working at Ghetto Rough as well. So sometimes I can't sleep. You know, and I'm gonna come back to that, to Hobing. I'm gonna tell you something. So I would compose some music at the studio at the house. That's how Tuks actually learned how to record himself. He would record the demos of the songs that I've created up until we go and record there. So when I'm working with Zola this side, Tuks is busy recording himself there. And then I'm gonna take that he has recorded, and we go to the studio, we fine tune it, and we do the final cut. So yeah, with Tuks, I think we have done a lot because we had a lot of time together.
What was the dynamics, Morafe?
The dynamics, Morafe, okay. Morafe have been hungry for this game for a very long time. I think I was communicating with Todi more or most of the time when I was in Cape Town. And he says, Emona, EMI is interested in us and 1, 2, 3, but we don't want to move without you. You have to come back, you know? And coming back, challenges were, they were so hungry for this thing that they were all over. This one is pulling this way, this other one is pulling this way. Pulling them together was a mission. The other one, okwa. By the time you get them together, Mang is not there, Mang is late, inking, you know what I mean? So doing the album, Morafe's album, even the tracks were not completed. When I look back and track back, I'm thinking 525,006. I did that song for Morafe. It was supposed to have been on Maruapula, Morafe's album, but for the mere fact that we never had recording time, they never availed themselves, and so on and so forth. We had limited time. I ended up saying, you know what, as is, let the album drop. Because, and then Tuks bumped into the song in the studio at the house, and then he said, hey, how about? And I was like, no, that's Morafe's song. And then over me, he went and wrote for the song and recorded the demo version of it.
By the time you hear it,
By the time I hear it, I was like, Morafe can sit.
Sold.
I was like, Morafe can sit here.
Something that a lot of people don't know or know it but never touch it.
Yeah.
You work with Cassper.
Yes.
For like 3-4 years.
Yes, 3-4 years, I would say. Yeah.
You guys did an amazing album, one of the best albums I've ever heard.
Yes.
Are we ever gonna hear that album?
As is, there's a song or two from that album that was recreated because some of the songs were created by Green Fingers.
Okay.
Dumisang Mokate. You know, so Cassper and Dumisang had to sit down. Dumisang had to go to Casper's studio and recreate the song. So I think it's dropped. It's on the latest album.
Is it?
Yeah. It's on the latest album. So I'm sure slowly but surely
the album will be out of the studio.
So it's coming out. What's the use of having music archived?
It won't make you any money.
You know what I mean? It doesn't do nothing for you the more you archive it. So it's better you take it out there and let the people enjoy it, actually, because you don't do music for just it to be released, but you also want people to enjoy it. Do
you sometimes look back and think, ish, whatever thing that was going on between Nale Casper?
I look at life in this fashion. What was meant to be will be, whether I like it or not. If I track back the time and I say this and that between me and Casper, I chased Casper out of the house. Casper remained by my gate. I had to open. That's how hungry he was for the thing.
I've never had Moto Abuaka gamey like Casper, and he was talking crazy. For me, he was talking crazy. But when they starting to happen, fill up the door, fill up. I'm like, this man has been talking about this thing.
Yes.
Yes. These things.
Yes. My man, for me to be able to go to Casper's mother, for me to sign Casper, I had to go sit down with his mother, and not just his mother, Greenfinger's mother, Beatmaker's mother. Now I'm sitting there, I'm convincing adults that let go of these boys. This boy doesn't be junkie.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. Bit junkie. Ish. Yeah. Bit junkie. So I had to convince their parents. Now, Casper's mother is a teacher. Casper's father is a teacher. I had to go convince teachers to say, let this boy quit school. He's fine. I'll take care of him. Here's a contract. Sign this contract and let me take over this boy. I had to do that. But how then do you do that when you do not see talent in the person and you do not see passion in the person? So I could see the talent. I could see the passion in Casper. Him speaking all those crazy things was not a shocker to me, because he was crazy enough to speak about it because he's foreseeing it. And he was in alignment with himself. It's just that alignment that he was with himself ended up being derailed by Kimojozi no Kikena Ustata Fatla ki dibone tsa mo Gauteng. Right? They are dimo fatla dia mo deraila for some time, but he needed that derailment for him to come back and align proper to becoming the best superstar he is today. So there's nothing that I was going to do or could have done, even if I was to reverse time, to change what has happened. He had to learn certain things. He had to go through certain things. And sometimes it's not about me. It's about me creating a pathway for him to become the success that he is. And that's why it's very difficult for me to can block his success, because I had to be the pathway, nanekele steps for him to get to where he needed to get to.
Now, Jabba.
Yes.
You never signed Jabba, right?
Yes.
But there's no album like Jabba unless a thing album without your production. I'm trying to think about Motso Africa or Unole Tenda.
I've been on every album.
From Hebanna.
Yes.
Well, I know Hebanna because EMI kicked him out after that failed Mariah Carey album from the States.
Yes.
And you just mentioned Mafikeng. So clearly the song was recorded.
No, the song was recorded Muchozi.
Okay.
Yeah, it was recorded Muchozi. At the time, that's when Jabba actually wanted me to sign him, when I was working closely with Ghetto Raf. He wanted me to sign him, and I said, no, I'm not going to sign you. The only other thing there is for you to re-establish yourself. And that's when he started Baby Fat. You have to re-establish yourself. But for you to re-establish yourself, let's make a single and see what 1 + 1 looks like. That's when the money, man, when that song became a hit on radio, that's when EMI called him, and I said, you are not signing. Yes. And then I said to him, you are not signing with EMI directly. You are signing yourself to your own record company, and you are licensing yourself to EMI. That's the only other way for you to protect yourself and to remain independent slightly. So you licensing your stuff to EMI, and that's how it happened that he started his own record company. And then he had a partner, Oamukawa Tilling, and then that's when he started. Yes, sir.
Then you guys dropped a track called Reloaded.
Yes.
Was it Reloaded?
Yes.
What?
Twaka and Harambe.
Twaka and Harambe.
Yes, sir.
What's the album kind ya pasa Botswana Wami or something Umang ke idea ko Botswana, right?
Yes.
Umang are simile ka tswaka.
Yes.
There's somewhere where I can hear somewhere round and round yeah, Tupac.
So when it comes to let's first start here. Omang is released, is dropped, and nothing, and is been pushing, and the Jabba's pushing the album. As he's pushing the album, I think when the album reached about 20,000 copies sold at the time, he had an interview with Take 5. Was it Take 5? I think. I'm not sure. And then he said, Tasso, can I use your studio? And so on and so forth. And I'm like, no problem.
Wait, go interview?
No, for the interview.
Oh, yeah.
So that they shoot
yes,
everything from Cube Studios, right? So I was like, no problem, cool. We're shooting there, playing some of the music, him singing there and then he's having the interview. Before we concluded, they were like, hey, mana, just jam something, nada, and then let Jabba freestyle and something. Hey, here comes Jabba with Harambe. Hey, I'm turning around, I'm looking at this man, I'm thinking, I'm like, Jabba, whose song is this? Like, no, this is an idea I'm playing around with. My man, we did that song within 10-15 minutes of them shooting while we were supposed to be freestyling. As he's doing that, and I'm like, do you have the lyric? This or failed? I'm composing latela bass, latela the drums, latela inking, kirikena kada record. He records the chorus first. Osansana fine tune the verses. By the time the shoot was done, the song was done. From that song being done, soon after that, I think another idea comes through. I'm just fucking around, playing around. That's how Tswaka came about. Round and round we go. Then we went. So doing those two songs within that hour or two that we were there, Jabba decided, Nejo, I'm gonna put these songs, and we're doing a reloaded, and then he took How You Feel as well, and we repackaged Omang into the Omang that became the breakout album. The breakout album.
Those two songs.
Yeah, and then YFM booked Jabba somewhere. Jabba performed Harambe. The next morning, Bad Boy T, Rude Boy Paul, Nebalugo Studio by me, so they want to break the song. Omongar, my show is Harambe. We want the song, and you know what I mean? So it was crazy times. I think Jabba stars realigned proper when we started working together.
Now, Bosogima. No, Jabba. Ooh. I remember driving that man for a month. I was so tired of that beat.
So we went to Pitori. To a gig. He played me the song, the original song. Hey, I didn't hear this song going anywhere. I'm not gonna lie. When I first listened to the song, I'm thinking, yeah, I hear this song. This song is awesome as it is. Me taking a Tavara song and trying to make a Jabba something, it took me some time. Lady say, Tasso, how far are you with that thing? Esan Jabba, I forgot. And I but by the time I touched and started working on that song, I could feel it myself. Here we having something. Yeah. Hard rock and Jabba, yo magic. Bonus dude, that's it. And Jabba like making fun about. Look, Jabba's music was feel good music. You know, he would go as deep as making you aware of something, because then when you listen to the song, you see exactly what he's talking about. To Harambe,
yes,
Harana, Arkopaning, you know, Tswaka, now Rejamnati, whether it's the drinks, whether it's the music, whether it's the Inke Mara, Sisalang. When we come around your town, we get down to the sounds of her. When we went to Jabba, he is now also branding himself. Now he found his footing and he's like, now I am. But wherever I go, Bambitas do, Lamara, Bambayis do, Asasaka Kalikeke Papa. Sasaka and Asaka the way.
Even the video.
Yeah, even on the video.
Dudes sitting around the dinner table.
You know what I mean? So he was creative. Jabba was one of the other. You know, that's why it's very difficult for me to can measure who is the dopest? And I I hate being asked that question. Who is the dopest that I've worked with? There's a song that Jabba did. Yo, Jabba ore Jabba.
Jabba ore Jabba.
Yes.
Jabba ore Jabba.
Jabba did that song after he came to the
Only
studio.
to find out Sababan. Anyway, go on.
Yes. But he was Naloko studio, and then 2.5 February, there was a song ya Zola. Bahamba 2.5 February, and it's just a cappella there, Zola singing there. When Jabba had it, like, Tasso, who sang here? And I'm like, Zola. Every portion, every part, that's how now he came with Yo Jabba ore Jabba. So you can see that creatively they inspired each other, because even Zola was hearing some of Jabba's songs on some, hey, this boy, they wanted to work together. I don't know how and why the both of them never worked together, but they were feeding off of each other. Just as much as Zola also fed off Tuks, and Tuks was feeding off of Zola. So, yeah. You were saying with Jabba?
Yeah, I know. And I love it. And then Bosokeman.
Okay. Bosokeman, just like a few other tracks. Jabba worked almost the same way I did, right? When I worked with Zola, I said to Lance, I need to be in this person's space 24/7, time and again. So they shot a lot of Zola 7 episodes, and I'm there. I'm just there. What I was learning and trying to understand from him is how he communicates. Who is he? I need to understand the person for me to be able to produce the best thing aligned with him. I do not make music that aligns with me. I make music that aligns with the person I produce for. That's what I always do, right? So from what I picked up from Zola, I would create the music. Jabba, from what he picks up out there, if it chows him enough, then he would want to talk about it. So he would come to the studio, and like every time I go wherever, but boss then make it a song. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna make it a song and say what? I started messing around. Boso Kemang is also one of those 20-30 minute kind of songs that we did now with immediate effect, but we were trying to answer what Boso Motswako Kwena. Because you, the one who's purchasing, who's supporting our move, you make us be the best we can be. So Boso Motswako Kwena, the consumer.
Then a very controversial song. This one.
Yeah, this one. This one was also.
Wamtsibam too.
Yeah. So there's a guy. He's still a friend of mine, by the way. I think we reconciled. He wants to book Jabba. He books Jabba. The gig has to happen in Pitori shop. I tell him, okay, cool, here's Jabba's fee and 1, 2, 3, pay the deposit. And then I pay the deposit towards Jabba, I give it to Jabba. 2 days prior to that thing, I'm like, my man, you signed the contract, and this contract says 14 days prior to the event, you must pay the balance. You haven't paid the balance. Jabba's asking me what's happening. Understand that on the day of the event, Jabba's possibly gonna charge you the full amount again if you are not paying the balance now. We go back and forth, nothing is happening. On the day of the event, the guy doesn't even pay the man. I'm with Jabba. And I said to him, I mean, I am not going to start the car until the balance is. Cash. I get to Midrand, waited for the guy, waited for the guy, he never pitched up, right? The next thing he's threatening Jabba.
I was there. No.
The next thing he's threatening
Jabba. Something.
Jabba now is being threatened. I'm thinking, hey, my man, we threaten Jabba in this fashion, whereas you know you are the one who messed up, because we ended up not going to that event and so on and so forth. So from that came this song, basically. wa itseba o thele e tlo khawata ha fetsa matlo threaten wa bona that's why re reng ka thipa ramo
Bua.
why one so
Ke bua.
no ramu expose that's number one. Number two thing, if you look gore ena o nya go di kenela the way le ka use ramu bua.
Why then was this song, why did the consumer think Orpine was Tuks?
You see, I always ask people, Casper says utlema skima kulichana util. Can Tuks claim to skima kulichan? That's number one. Ki skima right palafala chase and I go palafala chase a Tuks in alega in my life. Navagan chase at that point in time. Jabba's when you look at all the certain lines that are within the song, you will realize that they're far from Tuks. But for the mere fact that at that point in time, myself and Tuks are no longer easily working together. But another thing, Ntwane Nyane messed up at some point because of the beef that was happening between AKA and somebody. Cassper, yeah. Okay. So because of the beef that was happening between AKA and somebody, I forgot to rename AKA Lemang. YFM was pounding that whole thing. Baduti and Andrianto, they listening to all of those fights and battles and inking. And then he goes on social media. And Hafitlago social media, I saw Sally Tuks. Yeah, I saw Sally Tuks. And I saw Sally Tuks. At that point in time, I'm A&R of the hip-hop department at Sony. Right? Cassper was the first signee, the first hip-hop signee at Sony, South Africa. Yes, under a record company called I Am Music, Impactual Motwako Music, that was owned by myself and Jabba. And we were running hip-hop at Sony. Cassper was the first signee. When Cassper did that, even Sean Watson was like, hey man, now Kitwako EMI, Kika Yuso Kimo Sony, the EMI people are still my people. Now your dogs are busy fighting Yiso, keep your dogs on a leash. Those were the words I was given by heads. Go Sony on some, keep your dogs on a leash. Because Tuks is signed to me, Cassper is signed to me. And they both fighting. Tuks is at EMI, Cassper is at Sony. So the war happened, and then, yeah, long story. So because Cassper used to see on social media,
it was
easy for everybody to link it, to say, to an extent that soon after I was called by Sony to tell me to keep my dogs on a leash, Jabba called me. Hey man, Thasman, so now we're now let in Tuana di Jabba even drove to my house. How can I allow I wake up, I go upstairs, I find Cassper, le Andrianto on social simole, balibeleti di max. That's how pissed off I was. That's how pissed off I was, you know. But at the same time, is the song had nothing to do with Tuks. Nothing was so flipping ever to do with Tuks, but we were talking in general. Hey, everybody, all of us know that somebody that has done something like that. And inking, how you relate
like walk on by.
Like walk on by. Yeah. Exactly. So it's basically that it had no one individual, but it had multiple different individuals whom were doing 1, 2, 3.
Dope. 2017, 2016, we all get a call. Kisho, you got the call from Oz Esther. What went through your mind?
2018.
2018.
Hey, Lemonka, you wanna take me there? Hey, D Mali. Hey, D Mali. So 2018, I'm a technical producer at Trading FM. So Jabba calls me saying, Emana, I want us to have a meeting about certain things and 1, 2, 3. He wanted to shoot a couple of different things. So I was like, okay, cool. You wanted to do it on a Tuesday. No, this Tuesday I can't. We have a plenary meeting at Trading FM and I have to drive to Mafikeng. No problem. Drive to Mafikeng. Come back, I tell him, Emana, I'm back, so are we still on for tomorrow, which is a Wednesday? Okay. Yeah, no, cool. Right one. So the next day, first thing in the morning, I'm in the studio chilling, waiting for Jabba. So sometimes Lerato would call me when Jabba is by the gate because phone something or something. So
By your gate?
By my gate.
Okay.
He doesn't hoot most of the time. So Lerato am phone. Naki check cameras out. There's nobody outside. What's happening? Lerato is like, Emana, it seems like something is very wrong. Go check phone like Hey, I was supposed to have a meeting with this guy. I rush, get to the house there. Kinahana 123 123. Hekitsena ose stau kielanja. Mampulela kakena. Okay, Rama. Neraman ukara. The rest is something else. I mean, it's not something I can easily talk about like that. So I went in. How I stormed out of that place. How I was bumping the walls going out of that place. Screaming like nobody's business. Calling the cops this side, calling the ambulance this side. I was vibrating completely different, my man. I think that changed me a lot. What I experienced there, how I experienced it, and with whom I experienced that completely transformed the being I am. I don't think I'll ever be the same Tasso that was before that happened. Yeah. That is life altering, Lemonka. It's life altering. It's and you end up asking yourself 1,000 questions. That a lot has happened, and with a lot that happened, I ran up and down. There was a time when Jabba went to Credo Mutua's house in Kuruman. I went there. When I found out that Jabba, he was supposed to have gone to rehab of some sort. He went to Credo's house. I went there. I've had long talks with Jabba, I realized that there was nothing I could do. There was nothing under the sun that I could do. And that's why I normally say I accept the fact that what is and what will be. Whether you like it or not, you can do anything and everything under the sun. And what needs to happen will happen. And the time of this is there, is that time. And there's nobody who can change it. Nobody who can alter it. There's nothing. There's nothing that nobody can do about it. That hit home even the hardest for the mere fact that I was flying out to Durban. I'm told Zondi is in hospital. Flying back from Durban, Zondi has passed away. I look at OR Tambo completely differently. If I have to fly to Cape Town, I'd rather use Lanseria. If I have to fly out the country, I'd rather go to another airport, fly to that other airport, and then fly out of the country. These are life-altering times and spaces, that they no longer allow you to vibrate the same way you used to as an individual. So the Jabba situation is something other than. And the worst part of it all is that happened soon after Tuks le Jabba ne ba tshwarane ka diwashene ko gaka. I don't know if Tuks has ever mentioned this. Tuks was the voice of Motsweding. I'm recording Tuks, and then Jabba just bumped into the crib. I can't lock him out. Jabba comes in. We chilling, we drinking, And then yasoga between born. Yeah, no, Entleke, what about, hey, how, what about, and inking. I thought to myself, let me give them space. Open the balcony, let them be there by the balcony. Big boy was there as well. Bigger. Somebody look, they know what they're dealing with. And they had to deal with everything. The only other thing was, from the balcony here, you know? But after that, there was love back again, Momajite. You know, conversations, we were calmer, we were easier. Now, rakombana now.
There was even a feature more Africa.
You know what I mean? That's when now relationships became mended and so on and so forth. And I think we were rebuilding the legacy of Motswako, you know, and that has been my pathway to say, why can't we rebuild? The only unfortunate part about it is that we can never rebuild the same way we built. We have to rebuild.
There was no kids then.
There was no kids then. Less responsibilities. We didn't look into ownership of certain things. We didn't allow each other to, actually, I would easily say lack of knowledge from back in the days. Today, how people communicate, how people work, and depending on the workspaces, we have to be cognizant of the fact that not just ownership, but the legacy of individuals also needs to be preserved. Yes, we have kids. So the legacy of Lemonka must always remain within the space of the legacy Lemonka leaves behind. You know, so how we rebuild moving forward, it has to be a rebuild that allows me to have ownership of what is mine. Same applies to you. If we co-join to it, then when we make money, we split amongst each other equally. That of who's the boss, who's the fuck. You know, I think we have to grow out of that and grow into building a legacy. This legacy of Motswako is bigger than I am. It's bigger than all of us combined. Because there's somebody else who's going to pick it up after we are gone or we are anywhere else. And it's going to still be as great as it is today.
Obviously, to rebuild means or something has been destroyed.
Yes. A lot has been destroyed. Disrespect amongst ourselves. Looking down amongst ourselves. You know, I think when they say money transforms people, then you start realizing that whomever's doing better than the other is treating the others bad because they thinking I'm comfortable financially. Up until the financial aspect starts spiraling down, then the dynamic starts changing. Somebody else goes up and then now they're doing the same thing that the other one was doing, which is nonsensical because now it becomes a
vicious
spiraling. You know what I mean? So, and when you look at it again, is we used to work like this. Now suddenly the change of how we operate and how we work is, let's take this away from where it used to be and take it elsewhere. So I don't know how to put this, and I don't know
without sounding controversial.
Yeah. So a lot of things are transforming and becoming something other than what we used to do and how we used to do it. I'm not saying we should do things the same way we used to do them, but whichever way we do them, let it be fulfilling to the movement, not to Thasman, not to Lemonka, not to anybody else or individuals, but to the movement. With the movement, what we used to do, and you know it, you were a part of the process. When Jabba drops, everybody stops. They support the Jabba move. When Morafe drops, everybody stops and support the Morafe move. When Tuks dropped, and it was, are we still doing the same thing? Is there still support of each other?
No.
So there isn't. A lot has changed. A lot has changed, and I would easily say it didn't change to the better, but to a divide, and a bigger one, for that matter.
Damn.
Yeah.
Let's go to the money, Thasman. You mentioned scoring music, working adverts, and I know Jabba le Boso ke mang were in big adverts,
Yes.
big commercials.
Yes.
Obviously, everyone when they step into the game, they want to be number one. They want to be the man. How are you sustaining yourself as something or how do we put a spotlight on the things that you've mentioned?
Okay. I normally say we are never given one talent at a go, ever. We are multiple talented, right? Tuks is a graphic designer. He's a what. And I had said to him, you are not performing all the time. And if you are not, pursue that and make it your side hustle and let it do something for you. Lection also does the same thing, and voiceovers and so on and so forth. So when it comes to myself, music doesn't only work when somebody sings over it. It works on so many different platforms, you know. It depends on how you capture the emotion of people through the instrumentation that you have created. And I thought to myself, since I'm capable of doing this, I don't necessarily need to have an artist all the time in the studio. And for the mere fact that there's a shift within alignment of certain people and spaces that I've been working within, let me diversify. And diversifying was as simple as continue doing what you do the most and just find spaces where you can plug that in. You watch, you know, when you watch dramas, especially local drama, and you feel like, flip here, I could have. As soon as that episode ends, you go and you try and create something. You find that you have created something that fits that mood to the way you were picturing it, you know? And you continue doing exactly that, and you find platforms to say, hey, I have this kind of music, do this, do that, can we? And then it works best for you.
Thasman, I'm inspired. I know you don't how iphatsimisi ka dilo tsa lefatshe ha ke tsebe yang mara I know gore wa phatsi yeah I know gore we have never had this conversation mara I know gore there might be taxinyana tse 4 ko Pitori kgomo tse 14 ko kai like things that are outside the music. When you said diversify, I knew okay, my man is playing with the big league, and the big league is having to invoice serious numbers for just the 2 songs. I've been in your pockets, by the way. Ka Jabba
but Jabba showed us flames though, eh?
For real?
The Jabba song.
Yeah.
Norox took the song wanting to do an advert only to find Jabba didn't clear the song.
No.
Samro has paid us however much, and meaning that we have equal shares, splits between myself and Jabba. The next thing I get, what is this statement from Samro? Oh, no payment is coming. Another statement, no payment. I call Samro. Hey, what's happening? They're like, hey, my man, you took an advance. Can't it Tavares? No, was it Tavares? Yes. Tavares, Norox. I think for that advert, Norox, they paid 150. Myself and Jabba shared 5,000.
No ways.
Yes, they took 95%, if not 98% of the song, because we didn't clear it in time. And
for ownership?
For ownership, yes.
There's a lot to be spoken about sampling then, or clearing samples.
Clearing samples and some, yeah, my man, that war, actually, let's not touch it. It's going to be, a lot of people are going to see flames in the music.
I saw your wars.
Yeah.
No, my mind is like, anyway, let's go back to this sampling thing.
Yeah. And then they went to Samro, they said, hey, you paid the wrong owners of the song. Rona wa Rekolota. Samro had to pay them, and then Rona is more like I've taken an advance because they had to pay those people for the monies that.
Are you telling me right now that song is being owed 90% by?
Yes. And when you look at that song at this point in time, I don't know how many movies wanted to use that song. I ended up refusing. I refused completely. That
Because of 5%.
yes.
Jabba
Just because-
5%.
And the worst part of it all is that the negotiation aspect of it, we had started it. And then out of the way, Bahana now. I thought to myself, you know what? If anything, then let Tavares use their own song and not use this that we have created, because our creative rights are also part of that song. So leave that song alone.
But where is the label here? He was signed.
No, who?
EMI.
Yes.
It was through EMI.
Yes, it was through
CCP.
EMI. Yes. And the master rights owners are still CCP.
Yeah.
Which is universal. Right?
But they go to your pocket.
Yeah, and then Universal still to this date doesn't want to amend that contract. Then I thought to myself, let's archive this song. That song will never be used in the entirety of my life and 50 years afterwards, unless the contract is amended. Those are the kind of decisions we need to make. We have to make radical changes to how certain things have been happening in this game. And if we don't do them, then we are already allowing our kids to also fall within the same traps that we are in.
Where did you learn the parts to play a radio like that? The styling of radio?
Like I said, I started styling radio in 98 when I was in Cape Town. So that has always been a part of me. And that's why I could style even albums. When Latela sound effect account shot, those sign even within the songs, you speak about certain things, you need to hear elements of that. You create the mood and the environment of what the person is stating. Then that way you capture almost anything and everything about them. So styling radio in that fashion, it's unfortunate that a lot of people have jobs that they are not passionate about. So they're just doing their jobs, whereas some of us are passionate about that and we escalate it and take it beyond measure. And what I do and how I do it is audible.
Let's talk about the restaurant before we close.
The restaurant, amen, the restaurant business. Look, you know, when you have to diversify, you diversify to an extent that you step into territories that you are not easily clued up into. And I thought to myself, if one goes into the restaurant aspect of things, then slowly but surely, you bring in the band into it, and then from the band, you bring in the artists. So then it will link with this that I'm already doing, you know, which is food, good food, beautiful music.
You guys play
and
dope
artists.
music, by the way.
Huh?
You guys play dope music, by the way.
Thank you. So that happened, but rona bana ba mmala wa sebilo go na le sengwe se se re pallang. The minute you start seeing an inflow of funds, you transform from being
No, man, Tasso. This was supposed to end on a good note.
yeah. Both restaurants are closed, as is.
Come on.
Yeah. Niggas started embezzling money out of the restaurant. Certain things were starting not to be kosher. Now, the health inspects, when they come to the restaurants, is no longer the way it's supposed to. Cards are being utilized at hotels. You ask yourself what's happening. So it's it's deep. It's deep. And that's why I say it's always easier to say, if I grow and expand to something closest to what you have knowledge on or of. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, Tasso. Re tswala ya ke batla go bua something kgante le sone a se sha.
Di bue tsotlhe. Look, at this point in time, I'm working with a young boy called Rantsu. Awesome boy. His album, his EP just dropped now, I think beginning of February or end of Jan, beginning of Feb. I'm going to be doing a whole lot of things with him. I just want to complete his album, but in completing his album, I also want to create a certain collab. There's a song that I did, and I actually called Toady about the song, and I said, Eamon, there's a song I would want to do a collab with that song. Maybe you should come through to the studio and hear the song. But I want it to be a heal the world kind of song. I already have the concept of the chorus, but I would want everybody to write their own thing. So with this boy as well, I want to create a couple of collabs. But easily, but there are a lot of other artists, young artists that I haven't worked with, that I would like to incorporate into things that I'm gonna be doing moving forward. Noti for instance.
Yeah, that call happened in December again.
Yeah, you know, so I've been workshopping certain things that I could do with Noti, but as time goes, we will see what 1 + 1 looks like. There's a competition that Mabana does, the Ultimate Talent Search. There comes out there dope artists. I would want those boys or girls to also be incorporated into the space of music that we do, you know, for them to be exported from just the Northwest to being national and also international. Let's make music. I'm all about work, my man.
Thasman. In fact, we're going to do more than music in Naloen.
Yes, sir.
I know that you breathe what you say, yes, and the passion cannot be said enough. We can see it.
Yes, sir.
Everything is the passion for, so you go the whole way. I remember the days you used to fight, like fist fights, for payments and stage performances and this and that for everyone. Thank you, Thasman. Rona arena do tse di ka le ka go fang tsone to say gore ra go leboga on the years tse re tshwereng tse re motsa ka tsone, the talent we pushing. We could get support even though you are not signed by you.
Yes, sir.
We could call you even when you were not the one administering our things, and in the end,
I'm all about work, my man. Tsa khale kere le nna ke a leboga matla modimo a nneile ngwana gore ke kgone go etsa dilo tso tsotlhe tseo o santsana npeile ora ke so etse.
Hey, di ke se di aba yano.
Jamme. Salute. Arberik.
Ladies and gents, Thasman.